First, again, thank you so much for this invitation and the chance to speak to you. The purpose of this trip for me, as much as anything else, was to be able to get back home and encourage more of my fellow American policymakers to begin to think strategically about the challenges that we face in this region. I fear too oftentimes these issues are analyzed in simplistic ways, and sometimes we ascribe to them notions of the world that are no longer applicable. Ideas that once mattered 20, 25 years ago, but perhaps no longer apply. And I would just close by saying 3 points that I want to make. The first is I believe this, despite the challenges that exist in this region, the opportunities are even more exciting. And the opportunities are very real. The world, I think, is flatter than it's ever been. The ability of people to buy, sell, and trade, invest in one another is higher than it's ever been. The ability of students to travel abroad and study is higher than it's ever been. The ability to innovate, both in partnership and in competition, is better than it's ever been. I was commenting this morning that I read that after years of being told that they needed to make their screens bigger, Apple has now decided to make their screens bigger on the iPhone. Well, they didn't arrive at that by themselves. They arrived at that because of competition. Because there's another product in the market that you may have heard of, which has created real competition. And they're responding to competition. And these are the sorts of positive things that exist when you can trade. But trade is built on the second point, and that is security. Look at the prosperity of this region. Look at the millions of people who just 2 decades ago, not just in this country, but throughout the world lived in deep poverty and despair, who now live in the middle class, and whose children have the opportunity to live an even better life. That's an extraordinary achievement, but one that would have been impossible without the stability of our regional security cooperation, without freedom of the seas, without established international norms, and without the military power to back them up. And we cannot walk away from what we've achieved in that regard, because it undermines everything else we've achieved. And my last point is, I was struck yesterday as I visited the border with the North and the DMZ, that what I visited yesterday wasn't just a geographic border. It was the literal divide between freedom and oppression. It was the divide between democracy and totalitarianism. It was the divide between opportunity economically and a stifling economy. It's a graphic example that before I came, I showed my pictures, the iconic picture of Google Earth that has a map of the peninsula. To the south is a well-lit country, symbolic of the light of freedom and opportunity. And to the north there's darkness, symbolic of what is denied to human beings, not just in the north, but in too many places around the world. What we've achieved over the last 60 years together, and what you've achieved in this country, particularly over the last 20 and 30, is nothing short than an economic and political miracle. And you have to continue to build upon that. We have to continue to build on that. Because it doesn't just matter to people on this peninsula. It matters to nations that aspire to the same thing themselves all over the world. That's what's at stake here. I want my children to inherit a world that looks better than the one they live in now. And I want all of our children to inherit a world where Asia looks more like South Korea and a lot less like the North. And you can certainly help us achieve that, and we can achieve that together by continuing our important alliance. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you here today.